Well, let me tell you about another day while I was in heaven. It was a quiet time with Jesus, just he and I together. And I said, Jesus, why did you bring me here to heaven? To be with you and all these people. Silence. Jesus, is it possible that you brought me here to heaven because of my 40 plus years in pastoral ministry, or the hundreds of people whom I baptized, or my faithful tithe paying, or maybe because I kept all the commandments. And he finally became alive, and he said, no, Ewart, no, absolutely not. Oh, Jesus, why did you bring me here to heaven to be with you and all these people? He looked at me with a very penetrative, and how you treated me while I was on earth. Pardon me. Jesus, are you talking about me, Ewart Brown? Considering that I never lived when you walked the earth. You're not talking about me. Ah, yes. I am talking about you. Because you see, Ewart, whatsoever you did for one of the least of mine, you did for me. Pardon me? Yes, you heard me. Whatsoever you did for one of the least brothers of mine, you did for me. Oh, Jesus, is that how it goes? Yes, 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 yes. That's how it goes. Have you ever thought, dear hearts, have you ever thought that every day, several times each day, we come in contact with Jesus and we come in contact with another human being? Have we ever thought that maybe the contact we had in the store yesterday, that could have been Jesus in flesh among us? Have we ever thought of that? A little something about Jesus. Just a little something, which was just read for us in Luke chapter 4. I'd just like to recap those words. You heard it earlier. It goes like this. He went to Nazareth on a Sabbath day, just like today. He went into the synagogue, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him, and he found a place where it is written. Here it is. The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he had anointed me, notice, to preach good news to the poor. He sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free. Oh, I like that line. To set the oppressed free and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. This is something I've learned about Jesus. In this passage and elsewhere, that Jesus was all about being kind, nice to people. Amen? Jesus was all about being kind, nice to people. He came to this world to be kind, nice. He lived a life of kind, niceness. The Bible contains multiple examples of Jesus being kind, nice. And I would challenge you today, if you had this microphone, you would take the rest of the day to tell us how many times Jesus has been kind, nice to you. Yes. He was all about being kind, nice. Here's a question. Do you know what happens when Jesus is being kind, nice to people? Oh, I think I know. They just want to love him more. Let me ask you another question. What happens to you when someone is being kind, nice to you? I know what you do. Same thing I would. I'd like to take that question a little bit further. Do we really know what happens in our community or in our neighborhood when we're being kind, nice to a neighbor? Do we know what happens? Do we know what happens when we proclaim good news to the poor? When we proclaim freedom to the prisoners? Recovery of sight to the blind? When we offer kind niceness to set the oppressed free? Do you really know what happens when we talk sweetly to a brother who has been rude and unkind? Do we know what happens when we talk kindness and truth about someone who doesn't even deserve it? Do we know what happens when we encourage a brother or a sister, even though he or she has blown it 1,000,000 times and does not deserve it? Do we really know what happens when we send a comforting card, a text, an email, or a telephone call to maybe a lonesome church member or someone who lives down the block? Do you know what happens to me? When you cry with me, laugh with me, carry my burdens with me, and let me know that you sincerely care about me. Do you know what that does to me? May I suggest, dear hearts, church family, when we do these things, it is then that we're giving away another view of God and how God really cares. When we do all these things to a brother or sister, it is then that we're giving somebody a desire to see tomorrow, to live another day, to live a new year. Have you not heard people say, what's the point? Oh, yes, it's going to take my word of encouragement to let them say, yes, there is a point. There's a reason to live by being kind, nice. When we're being kind, nice, we're giving away a taste of the good life. Good life, not to live today, tomorrow, and surely the life to come. But along with those, there are some other benefits from being kind, nice. I'm going to share a few other benefits that I know for my own self. When I'm being kind, nice to someone, my life feels enriched. My joys are increased. My friendship fields are expanded because I have more friends. I feel blessed. And the world around me is changed only by being kind, nice to someone. I think in a previous occasion when I visited this church, I shared this, but I want to share it again. Another benefit from being kind, nice is this. I'm taking this one from Testimonies, Volume 9, page 189. It says, if we would humble ourselves before God and be kind and courteous and tender-hearted and pitiful, there would be 100 conversions to the truth, where now there's only one. Church, please, listen to me, please. Let me capture this again. If we would humble ourselves before God and be kind, see the word, kind, nice, and courteous, and tenderhearted, and pitiful, there would be 100 conversions to the truth, where now there's only one. I wonder what would happen here in Central Seventh-day Adventist Church if we took this counsel very seriously. Left this place today with our sole mission to be like Jesus and to be kind, nice to someone. Well, you guys will have to expand your church, wouldn't you? Is that a problem? No. No. The Sabbath school lesson for this quarter, I love it. I heard a part of the discussion this morning. I love it. Because it's all about not only God to us, but us to our fellow men. And dear hearts, I've been around a long time. Just want to give you a little bit of my heart right now. I may never have the chance to do this again like this. I've been around a long time. And I've done everything that this church has asked me to do to be a successful pastor. I've retired fully confident that I've done everything God asked me to do. Except this. I have not taught my people to be kind, nice to one another. Hear me place. I have taught all the doctrines. I have not taught our people to be kind, nice to one another. Thanks to Pastor Lee Larson and your pastor for giving me this chance today to plead with your heart. I meet with a group of pastors in my city, that is in Woodburn, and I told them the other day I had a shocker for them. I prepared them to put their seatbelts on. I thought they were going to throw me out when it was all over. Here's what I told them. The people in Woodburn don't need God. They need people who know God. Don't have one. Let me try it again. When I walk the cities of Woodburn, Salem, Portland, United States, Canada, Jamaica, we're going to the Philippines in a few months. My observation, people are not longing for God because many of them don't even know who God is. What they want are people who are kind, nice. Another way I paraphrase that. Am I losing battery here? Another way I paraphrase that is people don't want the Bible. They want bread. I'm playing with words. They want something that touches their basic need. And so, this is what I've observed every day, several times each day. God sends us, all of us, opportunities to be kind and nice. Please hear me. Every day, several times every day, God sends us opportunities to be kind, nice. Pastor, kind, nice to who? Oh, I hesitate to say this. I mentioned this, and I was in California speaking the other day, and I told them this. I didn't want to tell them, but they say, Pastor, go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it. Be kind, nice to whom? Your spouse. Ladies and gentlemen, I am tired of experiencing church members who are kind, nice to their bosses and their workmates and the people they meet elsewhere, and are indifferent and ugly to their family. Church family. I'm asking us to be kind, nice, starting with our spouses, our family, our parents, the grocery clerk, the gas attendant, the gas station attendant. I spoke in this sermon again in California a few months ago, and at the end, one gentleman walked up to me. He says, Pastor, the one thing I got from your sermon is to be kind to the gas station attendant. Oh, are you ready for this one? Please. Be kind, nice to the homeless who sits on the side of the street with a sign. It could be Jesus. It could be Jesus sitting there testing us to see how we're going to treat him. One of these days when you get to heaven and you have a quiet talk with him, He's going to say, do you remember that day when you turned off I-5 South, exit to Market Street, and at the sign, or whatever the exit is, you saw a gentleman with a sign that says, God bless you. And you went into your car, you picked up a bag, and you gave him an apple. He said, yes, Jesus, I remember. He said, that was me. Be kind, nice to people. How can I be kind, nice? I was talking with a lady just yesterday. I met her a week ago. I told her I would be with you today. What are you going to talk about? I told her I was going to talk to my church family about being kind and nice to people. And she said this. She said, tell them to be kind, nice by making eye contact with people. Novel thought. Eye contact. I never thought of that, but I included it on my list. Eye contact, a smile, and a wave. Dear hearts, the man or the woman at the corner of the street who could be Jesus in person would appreciate an eye contact. Give him a smile. I care. Give them a wave. You don't have to give them money, but you can give them an apple. Give them something you purchase and have in your car to hand out to them. I just want to remind you, every day, several times a day, God sends us opportunities to be kind, nice to someone. What will you do? I'm not even going to ask, what have you done in the past? Because I know if I stood by the door and you all came by to tell me a story, you're going to say, Pastor, yes, I miss my chance. I miss my opportunity. I know you're going to say that. That's the past. What are you going to do for the future? One author said, great opportunities come to those who make the most of small ones. Small opportunities. I'm going to just give you a Matt Donald version of a very simple Bible story. It's about Jesus going to a certain town and met a lady from Samaria. You know the story. He stopped by the well. It was noon. The Bible said he was thirsty. He saw the lady, and he asked her for a drink. Guess what? Jesus could have gotten the water himself, couldn't he? He is the creator. But Jesus took the opportunity to engage the lady and ask her for a drink, which led to an interesting conversation. Sir, I am different. You are different. We're not supposed to be talking. Ah, but lady, if only you know what I am willing to give you, water, you would be glad to bring me a tank of water. Lady, I know everything about you. There's a gentleman you're living with. Go bring him. Really? You know all this about me? She hurried to town, brought all the people. The people, after they came to the feet of Jesus and learned of the kind niceness, Delmer, of Jesus, the people said, lady, it is no longer because of what you said, but we heard for ourselves from Jesus, the Creator. And then as you read the story further on in John chapter 4, a good reading for you when you go home this afternoon, you will notice that the entire village of Samaria was changed. Guess why? Because Jesus took an opportunity to be kind, nice to a lady. Jesus took an opportunity to be kind, nice. And my wife has heard me talk like this before, but what she had never heard, because that came to me just this morning. So many of us are so independent. We can do it ourselves. So could Jesus. But he took the opportunity to ask for a favor. There is power in asking a favor. You know what? Those who have been into human relationship, we knew that. But we haven't really emphasized it. Ask your neighbor for a favor. Ask your church member for a favor. We're building positive relationships. We're showing to others that we care. I'm moving on. I was born in Jamaica, and those of you who've known me heard this story, or heard I was born there. But there was a gentleman in my town. I've seen him more times drunk, lying on the side of the road, than I've seen him upright and sober. His name was Plunkett. Whenever time you walk by Plunkett, you say, "Hello, Mr. Plunkett." He would say this. Here it is. I still have that coat. If there's anything you can do for Plunkett, do it now. For Plunkett comes this way but once. My dear friends, may you never have to say, "If only I had known." May you never have to say, "If I could have only one more opportunity." May you never have to say, "I missed my chance." Last year, my sister in New York died. But for her service, we had her concluding service on a Sabbath just like this. We all gathered at her house, family fellowship. And it was time for me to leave, driving to another location from where I would fly the next day back home. After several hours of good family time together, the appropriate thing to say was, "All right, family, we've had a good time. It's nice being with you. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you again." God said to me, "Ewart, this is an opportunity." So I took the time to get their attention. And I made statements about the value of family, sticking together. I invited them to make a commitment to stick together as a family. I had a dedication prayer for my family. Never done that before. But you know what? Nobody knows the impact of that moment. Someday I may meet one of those family members who will say, "Ewart, your last moments with us have changed my life, my value." I think I told you this story. I want to tell you again. It was last year. On a Monday morning, I stopped by the post office in my town, Woodburn. I engaged the clerk in warm conversation. I've known her for years. Another customer walked in, and she seemed friendly to this conversation. So I invited her, part of it. In the middle of the conversation, she said to me, "Sir, are you a pastor?" I answered appropriately. As the conversation continued, she said, "Sir, can I have a hug?" I did the appropriate thing. I gave her my business card. She connected with me later, a few days later, where I learned that she is a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Her husband had just died. She had not been attending any church. Having learned that, I invited her to meet at the Woodburn Church. That's where I live. My wife visited the Woodburn Church sometime later, and my wife told me that she saw this lady at a fellowship dinner assisting. Wonderful. The next week, I was invited to speak at that church, so there I was. And in the bulletin was the lady's name, second reading to become a part of the family. How it started, I was just being kind, nice to her at the post office. Two more short stories. Elizabeth. Now, my store in town is Safeway. And as you know, most Safeway stores have a Starbucks. So in the Starbucks corner are tables. And on that far table was a lady. And beside her, a grocery cart overloaded with everything she possessed. I made several attempts over the weeks to connect with her. And she ignored me every time previously. But they never gave up. I stayed with her. She became my friend. We look forward to being together. Dear Elizabeth. So my wife and I went for a trip out of town and came back, and I came to my favorite corner to find Elizabeth. The Starbucks manager came over to me and she said, "Mr. Brown, the other night Elizabeth was crossing the street with her cart. She was hit by a truck and died on the spot." And I said to myself, "God, thank you for giving me the opportunity to have loved her for you." The last story, then I conclude. It was a Sunday morning, nice, bright Sunday morning in November. I woke up and I noted that there was a swelling on the side of my face. My wife, who has been a critical care nurse for 127 years, I said, "What do I do?" She has to be right. So she said, "Apply hot compress." No, cold compress. Cold compress. So we got a cold compress, we applied it, and then I fell asleep again, woke up. The bump got not only bigger, but now it's spreading. Not only here, lips, lower, and top, my whole face swollen. If my mother had seen me then, she would say, "What happened here?" So with all of that, my wife said, "Okay, let's take you to an urgent care. We have one in Woodburn." So she drove me up to Woodburn. Urgent care was closed. From that location, I called my family doctor. She asked a few questions. She said, "Mr. Brown, you don't need urgent care. You need emergency." get yourself to the first, quickest emergency. So my wife just took off down to Silverton. They must have contacted. When we arrived in Silverton, they were all ready. They ignored every admission procedure, straight to a room, in a bed, intravenous setup, everything ready to go, fluids pumping through me. As I laid there asking myself what happened, the doctor walked in and he said, "Mr. Brown, your case is bigger than our hospital. You need a hospital that has an ICU bed. And the only one available anywhere around is Samaritan, Portland." And he said, "By the way, the ambulance is on its way." Before I knew anything, I was in the ambulance to Good Sam, Portland. When Portland, they were all ready, all doors open. I was in bed, intravenous, running. I was able to look out and there were 6 doctors standing at my door having a conference. And then she said to me, "Mr. Brown, can we put a tube down your throat?" I said, "No way." To expedite, fast forward, intravenous medication, I'm here today. Amen. Thank God. I was discharged the next morning, Monday morning. Well, why have I told you this? Here's why I'm telling you this. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Anything you can do today, don't leave it for tomorrow. For tomorrow may never come. When God gives us an opportunity to be kind, nice, whether it be to a family member, a church member, the guy on the street, the gas station attendant, the attendant at the post office, wherever, don't leave it for tomorrow. Tomorrow may never come. My wife reminds me, if it comes, it may never come the same. My message to you, as Jesus have been and God have been kind, nice to us, let us be kind, nice to one another. And don't wait tomorrow. Tomorrow might be too late.